Hello everyone and welcome to the Young and the Restless channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. In the quiet tension of a new day in the Young and the Restless, an invisible weight hangs heavy over Genoa City, pressing hardest on the heart of Lily Winters as she grapples with a future that suddenly feels uncertain and fragile. Every passing moment seems to echo with the fear she refuses to voice aloud, yet cannot escape, as her thoughts circle endlessly around Malcolm Winters and the life-threatening battle he now faces. The reality of his condition refuses to soften, and with each failed possibility, Lily's hope begins to feel like something slipping through her fingers. Knowing she isn't a donor match herself already cut deeply, but learning that Holden Novak isn't a match either, only tightens the knot of dread forming in her chest. There is a growing, suffocating fear that time is not on their side, that every delay could bring them closer to an outcome she cannot bear to imagine. And as the possibility looms that even the twins may not be viable matches, the uncertainty becomes almost unbearable, painting her world in shades of anxiety and quiet desperation. Still, in the midst of that emotional storm, Dr. Stephanie Simmons becomes a steady, calming presence, offering Lily something fragile but essential: hope. With a gentle but firm reassurance, she encourages Lily not to surrender to fear, reminding her that medicine is filled with unexpected turns and that miracles, though rare, are never impossible. Stephanie answers every lingering question with patience, carefully guiding Lily away from the brink of emotional collapse, even as the weight of the situation remains. There's a delicate balance between realism and optimism in her words, and though Lily clings to them, the uncertainty still lingers like a shadow that refuses to fade. The idea of losing Malcolm is more than just a possibility, it is her worst nightmare, one that threatens to unravel everything she holds dear. And yet, in that fragile space between fear and faith, Lily is forced to keep going, to keep believing, even when belief feels like the hardest thing in the world. Elsewhere, a different kind of emotional reckoning unfolds as Holden Novak finds himself caught in a whirlwind of revelations that have turned his entire identity upside down. Sitting across from Kane Ashby, Holden begins to unravel the truth that has shaken him to his core, his voice carrying the weight of disbelief and raw vulnerability. The revelation that Malcolm Winters is his biological father is still something he can barely process, on a realization that Lily is his half-sister only deepens the emotional chaos swirling inside him. It's not just a secret, it's a life-altering truth that redefines everything he thought he knew about himself, his past and his place in the world. Kane listens, stunned into silence, as each piece of the story falls into place, his own shock mirroring the enormity of what Holden has endured. And as the conversation turns toward Malcolm's diagnosis of aplastic anemia, the gravity of the situation expands, pulling Kane into the emotional orbit of a family crisis he can no longer ignore. For Kane, the concern quickly shifts to Lily, to how she must be holding herself together under the crushing pressure of it all. There is a quiet resolve forming beneath his concern, a sense that he cannot stand by and do nothing while Lily faces something so devastating. Whether it leads him to becoming a potential donor or to uncovering a solution no one else has found, there's an unspoken promise in his reaction, a willingness to step into the fight in whatever way he can. The threads of fate seem to tighten, hinting that his role in this unfolding crisis may be more significant than anyone realizes. And in a story where hope feels increasingly rare, even the smallest possibility begins to shine like a beacon in the darkness. Meanwhile, across town, another confrontation brews, charged with tension of a very different kind, as Nikki Newman sets her sights on an unlikely resolution. Determined to shift the dynamic between them, Nikki approaches Diane Jenkins Abbott with a proposal for peace, her words carefully chosen in an attempt to bridge years of bitterness and rivalry. For a fleeting moment, it almost feels as though the past might loosen its grip, as though a fragile truce could finally bring an end to their long-standing animosity. But that fragile hope shatters almost as quickly as it forms, as Diane meets Nikki's offer not with openness but with cold resistance. The wounds of the past run far too deep, and Diane has no intention of pretending otherwise. With unwavering conviction, Diane throws Nikki's proposal back in her face, her resentment fueled by years of watching Nikki stand by Victor Newman despite his many unforgivable actions. To Diane, those choices are not easily forgiven, nor are they something she is willing to overlook for the sake of convenience or appearances. Her disdain extends beyond Nikki alone, touching on the complicated ties between Nikki and Jack Abbott, a connection Diane has never trusted or respected. There is no room for civility in her response, no willingness to bury the past under hollow gestures of peace. And as the confrontation reaches its inevitable conclusion, Nikki is left facing the harsh reality that her plan has failed, spectacularly and completely. As the echoes of rejection linger in the air, the divide between them feels wider than ever, a reminder that some battles cannot be resolved with a single conversation. In a world already heavy with uncertainty and emotional upheaval, this failed attempt at reconciliation only adds another layer of tension to an already volatile landscape. And as each character faces their own crossroads, whether it be life, identity, or loyalty, the stage is set for even deeper conflicts and unexpected turns. In Genoa City, nothing remains still for long, and as hope flickers against the darkness, every choice made now will carry consequences that ripple far into the future. As the emotional aftershocks ripple through Genoa City, the weight of everything left unsaid begins to settle into the quiet spaces between each moment, deepening the sense that something life-altering is drawing closer with every passing second. For Lily Winters, the world feels suspended in a fragile balance where hope and fear coexist in an exhausting tug-of-war that refuses to end. Every conversation, every update from the hospital carries the potential to either lift her spirits or shatter what little strength she has left, and the uncertainty begins to take its toll in ways she can no longer hide. She tries to remain composed, to present a brave face to those around her, but beneath that surface lies a storm of emotion that threatens to break free at any moment. The thought of losing Malcolm Winters is not just a fear, it is a looming presence, one that shadows her every step and fills her quietest moments with dread. And yet, even as that fear tightens its grip, there is a stubborn resilience within Lily, a refusal to give up on the possibility that somehow, against all odds, a solution will appear. At the hospital, time seems to move differently, stretching and compressing in ways that only intensify the emotional strain surrounding Malcolm's condition. Machines hum softly in the background, their steady rhythm a reminder of how much is at stake, while every doctor's word feels weighted with significance. Dr. Stephanie Simmons continues to stand as a pillar of calm in the chaos, offering not just medical guidance but emotional grounding when it is needed most. She reminds Lily that the search for a compatible bone marrow donor is far from over, that sometimes the answer comes from the most unexpected places at the most unexpected times. There's a quiet determination in her voice, a belief rooted in experience, and though she cannot promise a miracle, she refuses to let Lily lose sight of the possibility. That fragile thread of hope becomes something Lily clings to with everything she has, even as the fear of running out of time continues to whisper in the back of her mind. Meanwhile, Holden Novak finds himself unable to escape the emotional whirlwind that has upended his entire sense of identity, and his conversation with Kane Ashby lingers long after the words have been spoken. There is a heaviness in his chest, a mixture of disbelief, confusion, and an unexpected longing for connection that he doesn't quite know how to process. Learning that Malcolm Winters is his biological father has rewritten his past in ways that feel both surreal and deeply personal, while the revelation that Lily is his half-sister adds a layer of complexity that leaves him feeling both closer to and more distant from the people around him. Kane, still reeling from the shock of it all, begins to see the situation not just as a revelation but as a turning point, one that could change everything for everyone involved. The mention of Malcolm's aplastic anemia lingers heavily between them, and it becomes impossible to ignore the potential significance of Holden's place in this unfolding crisis. There is an unspoken understanding forming, a realization that Holden's connection to Malcolm might not just be emotional, it could become something far more critical. As that possibility begins to take shape, Kane's concern sharpens into quiet determination, his thoughts inevitably circling back to Lily and the unimaginable burden she is carrying. He knows her strength, knows how fiercely she protects the people she loves, but even the strongest person has limits, and this is a test unlike anything she has faced before. Whether by stepping forward himself or by helping uncover a path no one else has considered, Kane begins to feel an undeniable pull toward being part of the solution. It's not just about Malcolm anymore, it's about family, about second chances, about the kind of hope that refuses to be extinguished even in the darkest moments. And somewhere beneath the surface, there is a growing sense that the answer they are searching for may be closer than anyone realizes, waiting to be discovered at just the right moment. Across town, the tension between Nikki Newman and Diane Jenkins Abbott continues to simmer, the failed attempt at peace leaving behind a bitter aftertaste that neither woman can ignore. For Nikki, the rejection is more than just a setback. It is a reminder of the deeply rooted animosity that has defined their relationship for far too long. She had allowed herself, even if only briefly, to believe that perhaps they could move beyond the past, that time might have softened the edges of old wounds. But Diane's response makes it painfully clear that some grudges do not fade with time. They deepen, becoming more entrenched and more difficult to overcome. The frustration lingers within Nikki, mingling with a sense of resignation as she comes to terms with the reality that reconciliation is not something Diane is willing to entertain. For Diane, the encounter only reinforces her long-held convictions, her resentment toward Nikki tied inseparably to her unwavering loyalty to Victor Newman. Every past decision, every moment where Nikki chose to stand by Victor despite the damage he caused, has built a wall that Diane refuses to tear down. In her eyes, forgiveness would mean dismissing years of pain and betrayal, and that is something she cannot and will not do. Her connection to Jack Abbott only complicates matters further, adding another layer of tension to an already volatile dynamic that shows no signs of easing. As she walks away from the confrontation, there is a sense of finality in her stance, a clear message that she has drawn her line and has no intention of crossing it. And so, as the lives of everyone in The Young and the Restless continue to intertwine, the emotional stakes rise higher with each passing moment, weaving together stories of fear, revelation, and unresolved conflict. Lily stands at the center of it all, caught between the possibility of loss and the hope for a miracle, while those around her begin to realize that their roles in this unfolding story may be far greater than they ever expected. Secrets have been revealed, alliances have been tested, and the path forward remains uncertain, yet filled with potential for unexpected turns. In a world where everything can change in an instant, the only certainty is that the journey ahead will demand strength, courage, and a willingness to face whatever comes next, no matter how difficult or how unpredictable it may be. As the tension deepens across Genoa City, the emotional threads binding everyone together begin to tighten even further, pulling each character toward decisions they can no longer delay. For Lily Winters, every hour now feels heavier than the last, as the reality of Malcolm Winters' condition refuses to soften or slow down. She finds herself caught in an exhausting cycle of hope and fear, where every small update sparks a brief rise in optimism, only to be followed by a deeper drop into uncertainty. Even the strongest reassurances from Dr. Fanny Simmons cannot fully silence the growing panic in her chest, because the truth remains unchanged. Finding a compatible donor is still an urgent unresolved challenge. And with each passing moment, Lily feels the pressure of time pressing closer, as though the world itself is narrowing around the possibility of losing someone she cannot imagine life without. Yet beneath that fear, there is still a quiet, unshakable determination to keep fighting, no matter how overwhelming the odds may seem. At the hospital, Malcolm's condition continues to cast a long shadow over every interaction, turning even the smallest conversation into something emotionally charged and significant. The sterile environment feels heavier than usual, as though the very air carries the weight of uncertainty and fragile hope. Dr. Simmons continues her careful balancing act, offering clarity without crushing optimism, guiding Lily through the complex realities of treatment while still encouraging her to believe in unexpected outcomes. She gently reinforces the idea that donor matches sometimes emerge from places no one anticipates, urging Lily not to close herself off to possibilities that have not yet been explored. Each word is meant to steady her, to anchor her in a moment that otherwise feels like it could slip into despair at any second. And though Lily listens closely, absorbing every detail, the emotional strain on her face makes it clear that hope is becoming harder to hold on to with each passing hour. Meanwhile, Holden Novak remains trapped in the emotional aftermath of truths that have completely reshaped his identity, leaving him struggling to find solid ground. His conversation with Kane Ashby continues to echo in his mind, replaying every revelation like a series of shocks that refuse to settle into acceptance. Learning that Malcolm Winters is his biological father has forced him to re-examine everything he once believed about his past, while the revelation that Lily is his half-sister adds an entirely new layer of emotional conflict he never expected to face. There is a quiet turbulence inside him now, a mixture of confusion, disbelief, and a strange, unexpected pull toward a family he never knew existed. Kane, still processing the depth of what he has heard, begins to see the situation as more than just a personal revelation. It is now directly tied to Malcolm's survival and the future of multiple lives. The possibility that Holden's biological connection could matter medically lingers heavily in the air, transforming personal history into something urgently consequential. As Kane reflects on everything he has learned, his concern for Lily grows even stronger, evolving into a sense of responsibility he cannot ignore. He understands the emotional weight she is carrying, the impossible position she has been placed in, and the silent strength she is forcing herself to maintain. The idea that he might somehow contribute to a solution, whether by helping identify a donor match or by stepping forward in ways not yet clear, begins to take root in his mind. There is a sense that fate has positioned him closer to this crisis than he first realized, and that his involvement may not be accidental at all. With Malcolm's condition growing more critical and Lily standing at the edge of emotional exhaustion, Kane's determination begins to sharpen into action, as though he is preparing himself to step into a role he has not yet fully defined. In the fragile space between uncertainty and urgency, possibility begins to quietly form. Elsewhere, the confrontation between Nikki Newman and Diane Jenkins Abbott continues to reverberate long after the final words of their failed exchange. Nikki is left grappling with frustration, disappointment, and a lingering sense of disbelief that reconciliation was rejected so firmly. She had approached Diane with the hope of easing years of tension, perhaps even creating a new path forward, but instead she is met with a rejection that feels final and unmovable. The weight of that refusal forces Nikki to confront the reality that some relationships are too damaged to repair with a single attempt at peace. Still, beneath her frustration lies a deeper understanding that not all battles can be resolved through intention alone, no matter how sincere. For Diane, the encounter only strengthens her emotional stance, hardening the boundaries she has already built around herself. Her resentment toward Nikki remains firmly rooted in past choices, especially those involving unwavering support for Victor Newman despite all the consequences that followed. In Diane's eyes, those actions are not distant history. They are ongoing wounds that continue to shape how she views Nikki today. Her connection to Jack Abbott adds further complexity, reinforcing her belief that civility without trust holds no real value. Walking away from the confrontation, Diane carries with her a firm sense of closure, not in resolution, but in the certainty that she will not compromise her stance. As night begins to settle over The Young and the Restless, the intertwined stories of fear, identity, and unresolved conflict continue to unfold beneath the surface, each one pushing the characters closer to pivotal turning points. Lily remains caught in the most fragile position of all, standing between the possibility of a miracle and the fear of irreversible loss, while others around her begin to sense that their choices may soon have lasting consequences. Holden's identity crisis, Kane's growing involvement, and Nikki and Diane's fractured relationship all contribute to a larger storm of emotion building quietly in the background. And as the night deepens, so too does the uncertainty of what tomorrow will bring, leaving every character suspended in a moment where everything still feels possible, but nothing feels secure.